United States of America. Unity and oneness is what we're made of. One nation under God, it's plain to see. We're showing the whole world what a country should be. United we stand in America, hand in hand in America. Together as one in a land that we love. United we stand in America.
Good morning, everyone out there. Welcome to Changing Times. It is Wednesday, January 28th. It is cold outside, as well as most of the country. Be safe today and stay warm. We are live at the Axe Media Group headquarters in Springfield, Missouri. I'm Lynn Morris, and as you see here, our co-host, Dr. Mary Byrne, is still up in Jefferson City today. They're in session, and so we're still working on getting some other co-hosts, and we'll from time to time have different people sit in with me and do our show. This is show number 277, so 277 times we've been blessed to have this show. And I want to tell you, today you need to get your pencil or pen and paper out. There's some things that we're going to talk about today that I definitely want you to write down. We've got a special show today. Our guest is Gretchen Peters. How are you doing?
I'm doing good, thank you.
Well, I'm so glad that you're here. We've met for the first time, and I've already met your mom and dad, so they're great people, and I am really excited because, folks, today we're going to be talking about autism. And we do that from time to time because it's extremely important. Autism is one of these things that it covers a lot of different stuff, and there's a lot of different reasons and causes for autism. But it's a social issue, and in our show, social issues is one of those things that we try to talk about: social issues, social causes. We try to talk about solutions, positive solutions. You don't see that on TV. You do not see that on the newspaper. You don't see it in the radio. You don't see it anywhere except maybe one of our shows. We do that. Jim Whiting has a show. You see it on his show. You see it on our show. We try to come up with positive solutions. And there are positive solutions out there. And so we want to be sure and talk about autism today. Gretchen has a great story, and she's a teacher, so I want to kind of tell you a little bit about her. She's an educator, and she has 23 years of experience, or is it 27? 23 or 27? 23. 23 years of education experience, and that is both including public education and private education, Christian education. And right now you are the director of Wisdom Academy in Springfield, Missouri.
Yes, I am.
And you are a mother of four, so
Yes.
you and husband have four children, and your son was born with autism or diagnosed with autism at an early age. And so we're going to talk about that point of how you've coped with that, how you and your husband, your children, everything. This is going to be good because a lot of times we just talk about it, but we don't have anyone here that's really experienced it. It's kind of like me, Gretchen, you probably don't know, but I lost my foot and my left leg, part of my left leg, from a spider bite, brown recluse spider bite. Until you're handicapped, you really don't know, okay? And that's the way it is with every illness. You know, if someone has cancer, until you have cancer, you don't really know. And so this is going to be great today because I know you're going to give some valuable experience. You also are a children's book author. So what's the name of the book that for children that you wrote?
Well, I have
several.
I have several. So I have a few that are kind of for our school. So like I have a poetry tea time book. I have a Wild Fox Park journal. But I also have a book that I wrote just about growing up as a child and about like family traditions. And it's called The Artichoke Heart. And so it's kind of about how my family, one of our traditions was always eating artichoke hearts while we would watch family movies. And so it's kind of a little bit of a different tradition. But so the whole thing kind of goes into how you build those family values and those traditions.
Oh, that's awesome. That is awesome. We have had many people here on our show that have written books, and I always kind of gravitate. I'm working on a couple books myself, and I don't want to talk about them today, but I mean, I've got 2 books that I'm still working on. I think in my mind, I think they're going to be bestsellers because I think people need to hear what I'm writing, and I bet you have done very well too. So just kind of concluding where you know a little bit about Gretchen, she's going to be bringing you a professional perspective and a personal perspective today on autism. And that's going to be extremely, extremely important. But before we get started, I'm not going to keep doing this for just a little while longer. We are still in the first of the year. I can't hardly believe that this month is already over with. But you know, a lot of us, including myself, have made a lot of trying to think of things that we want to do better or different in the new year. And I tell you, I've kind of quit doing that, but here's what I would love for you all to do out there in the audience. I know we've got people all over the country listening and watching right now. If you don't know Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior, now is the time. Now is the time. Look around and see what's happening in our country, in your cities, and around the world. And you just know that our times are getting more troubled all the time. And I would just say that this is the time to find a church home. I don't really care what church home it is. There's lots of different good churches, and I've gone to several myself. So it's not wrong to pick a church. Pick a church that you like and that you feel comfortable in, and learn about God, learn about Son, and learn about the Holy Spirit, and then something else. Go to church, and then learn how to pray. Learn how to pray. I tell you what, when I first started learning how to pray and started praying, I wasn't very good at it. I was worried about it because I didn't really know how to say it. I felt it in my heart and my mind, but I didn't know how to say it. And God doesn't care how you say it. He understands everything. He already knows everything. And so you just need to pray and talk to Him. Just talk to Him, and you'll be okay. So keep doing that. Keep getting better at it. And I know that 2026 would be a better year. It would always be a better year with Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior. Okay? So now, and also one other thing today. If you'll write this down, that's why I wanted you to have a pen and paper. 4321 ACTS at gmail.com. 4321 ACTS at gmail.com. If you would do that and write us a topic or two, what would you like to see and hear about in 2026? I'm serious. I want to know because we want to cover some of these topics. Okay? And the other thing is, any questions that you have, anything that Gretchen says today, I say today, you be sure and send us an email. Did you like the show? What could we do better? We are very serious in making sure that we serve everyone that's watching today and every Wednesday. Okay? So I think that's it. So Gretchen, let's get started. I'm excited. So let's kind of start with you. You've got 4 children, but your son, how old is he?
He's 8 years old.
8 years old, perfect age, and so kind of get started and tell us about your journey with your son.
Okay. Well, I think to just dive back a little bit, some of my background before I became a teacher, so I started out as a public school teacher. Before that even, I had gotten into being a paraprofessional at a school, so working with special needs. So I was pretty familiar with the different types of special needs issues going on. But over the years, then I had my first daughter, and she definitely had ADHD. Very hyperactive. Later, as she got older, I kind of learned that a lot of her ADHD was around anxiety. And so she would become more hyper and disoriented as she got hyper, and or as she was more anxious around people. And so I think having her as kind of an early thing, it did help me a little bit navigate this with my son. So my son's my fourth child, and he, as a baby, he was always like super clingy, super probably an anxious baby. So he didn't want to go to other people. He was very attached. And, you know, for the most part, you're kind of like, well, that seems still in the normal realm. But then as he got older, he had some delays. So he had, like he was delayed with walking. So we tried lots of chiropractic and lots of different things with doctors. And, you know, he just had a few other like little delays. I mean, definitely some speech, but nothing was like extreme. So nothing was like where when we would talk to doctors about any concerns, they kind of were like, it's fine, you know? So it wasn't until we got closer to the age of 5 that we realized, like, this definitely is more. And he cannot navigate social settings well. The anxiety is way too hard. And he would just become stressed out and erratic. And then we also realized if we tried to leave him places, he was pretty smart. So he kind of learned that if he did act up, it would get him back to me. And so we kept looking at ways to get him, you know, into like some help, and there just wasn't a lot, and it was really frustrating. And we did put him into my school that I run, and he did fine as long as he was attached right to me, but he couldn't go to another teacher's classroom, or he just would lose it. And then, so we tried another private school thinking, well, maybe if we fully separated him out from me, they'd be able to, and that still didn't go well. And so we did eventually end up in public school, and again, they didn't have services without him being diagnosed with something. So it was like, but they were also like, okay, he's not doing okay. So it was really frustrating because you have this school that's like, he's definitely not okay. Like, we can't really have him here. But they're like, we also don't have any services. And they were like, you kind of just have to go to school for like 3 or 4 months while we try to get him diagnosed. But his anxiety was so high that, I mean, it was just causing so much stress and so many issues that we were like, this is not safe. So we pulled him back out, and we started researching places that would help us get a diagnosis for him so that we could get more help and more services. And all of the ones had huge waiting lists, and I was like, this is crazy. Like, I might have to wait a year for him to get diagnosed. And so we finally did find a counseling service that does diagnostic for autism and ADHD. And so he got diagnosed with ADHD, autism, and anxiety disorder. And so that was helpful to have that. We still went back to the public school, and they said even with a medical diagnosis, they couldn't get him into special ed until they had also done their own diagnostics. So it was still going to be 4 more months, even though they knew he hadn't done well the first time.
Been nice if they'd done it during the same time.
I know. And then they offered us an alternative of like online school for him. But again, he was like at that time 6. And I'm like, he cannot be online all day. Like, we already have huge anxiety. And I didn't really want him on technology all day because we were like, that seems to almost make everything worse. Mm-hmm. And because he does definitely better more unplugged. And so just really frustrating getting help and services. But it was definitely at a point where, you know, with my oldest daughter, when she had ADHD, we were able to navigate it a little bit better through not having her in public school, choosing homeschooling, choosing some private school options as she got older. And that worked well for her case. With his case, it really wasn't the solution either fully because so much of it was the separation anxiety from me. So, and then just how he would navigate things. So, and then I felt like he was definitely falling behind educationally because were so navigating just the emotions and dealing with his stress and how he felt. And the interesting thing about autism is, I mean, autism's this huge spectrum. So you have kids that are really extreme, that it is easier to get diagnosis because maybe they are fully nonverbal, or there's different things like that. I think some of the kids that are in that in between, where it's still really, really hard, like for us, some of the stresses are that we can't just leave him with a babysitter or with anyone. So we don't ever get breaks because he can't navigate being away from us. Sometimes even with his older sisters, we can't leave him with them, because it's just too hard. So I feel like that part's been kind of a challenge. But along the ways, we have started to find more and more services now that we have a diagnosis that help, that we're trying to look up different types of elimination diets, different types of therapies. So, we've kind of learned how to look for those things. And now I also help a lot of families with that too, trying to find out what kinds of services can help their kids. Like my son does go to a speech therapist who actually doesn't just do speech. She really does work on the brain connection and how certain parts of it work. We're getting ready to go to an eye specialist because this one eye doctor does special therapy that is supposed to help regulate them more through eye development stuff. Which again, I think a lot of it feels like as a parent of an autistic child, you're constantly looking for the answer. So you're trying out every single therapy that can possibly help. We're doing a neurofeedback type of therapy with him now too, to try to lessen, like the neurofeedback really is supposed to help with anxiety, stress, bring those things down, because if he's constantly in fight or flight, it's just hard to learn as well. It's hard to do all of the things you hope for your child. And so
Gretchen, so let's just stop there for a second. Has any of the doctors ever told you why your son was
born with
probably
autism?
Was born with it.
I do.
You didn't get it diagnosed for a while. I know in some of the research I've looked at, it said if you could diagnose a child before 18 months, it would be better for them and the family. So the earlier, the better.
Right.
In your case, it wasn't quite as early, and so you're still progressing through that journey. But did they ever say why that your son?
No, definitely not. The unfortunate part is it doesn't feel like doctors really are looking for the root cause.
The cause. I mean,
they'll kind of go into like, well, we could try this, we could try that, but they really don't ever go back to any kind of looking at that, which I do think is an interesting thing, because, I mean, we have some leaders right now who are trying to work on looking at root causes for autism. And then there's even some like influencers like Jenny McCarthy. She's an actress that has a son with autism, and so she talks all about what things she's learning, which I love. But a lot of the times people brand them as like kooks for even researching and looking into what the root cause is. And I think that's so unfortunate, because the only way for us to find answers is to really peel back, well, could it be this? Could it be that? And we have to be willing to look at those things.
You know, one of the things we mentioned just before the show started, I've been working with Congressman Burleson out of Southwest Missouri, and we're going to try to get HSS Secretary Kennedy on our show, or someone from his office. I'm definitely interested in autism. Back when we had our pharmacies, we had hundreds and hundreds of autistic children that we filled prescriptions for. We had a lot of group homes, nursing homes, different things, private homes. And so I've always been interested in autism, and I think that was a connection I had with Jim Winding, because our CEO's two boys were autistic. And And so I want to him on there because I think it's very important to figure out the causes. If you you can't solve a disease if you don't know what caused it. And same way with diabetes. I'm type 2 diabetic, and I've been doing a lot of research just in the last few years about different methods that the doctors don't tell you about that you can actually reduce your A1C and things like this. And so I'm just thinking, why do we not come up with causes? Some people have told me that we don't come up with the causes because these drug companies are making billions of dollars a year treating the symptoms. And just treating the symptoms is not going to really help you that much.
Right.
And so I really hate that. Another thing I wanted to mention, and then we'll kind of let you continue. So one of the things you mentioned about how you couldn't, you and your husband couldn't leave home and go out, maybe out to eat or something, just have some private time. That is a problem. And so when I've looked into autism, I'm sure other people out there have seen the same thing. It is extremely hard to keep a family connected and everything going well in the home when you have someone that they don't even know they're disruptive and causing situations, but they don't know. But it's really hard. So the divorce rate for parents that have autistic children is higher than a normal divorce rate. Just like I just learned not too long ago that law enforcement, first responders, they have a higher divorce rate than a normal divorce rate. So we got all these situations going on in this country that we can do better. I really believe this country can do better, and we deserve better. So, all right. What's next?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think that stuff's so true. I've heard there's such a break between how parents feel about autism, because some parents are like, we should just not treat this like a disease. We should just love kids and not this is just the way they're designed. But then there's the other ones who are like, no, it looks like there is some kind of breakdown going on that is causing them to be dysregulated. And for me, watching my child go through it, he is not happy with being dysregulated. He would much rather have an easier life. So getting to the bottom of what is causing this is so important because, if we could prevent these children and into adulthood, these children from having this kind of dysregulation, their lives are going to be improved. And that's what we want, is improved lives for everyone. Right. And like you said, for parents of it, there's a bunch of stress involved. And then costs, like going to a million therapies. Like I said, the schools really, even once I finally got my son through kind of all the school process, they don't have a lot. My son gets speech there, but it's really not with a speech specialist. That's why the speech teacher was like, you really need to go to a specialist, and they also have he just goes to a special needs class for a little bit of help, but it's really not all of the things that we really need for him to thrive and to get better and to do better, so that, because our goal is for him to go into adulthood healthy and happy and doing well.
Sure.
And so, so the school is not as much of an answer as I had hoped. And I think, we don't have a strong medical system either that I think is giving full support, because most of the stuff I have found to benefit him have been because I've researched a bunch. Most of the doctors don't give you very many tools to help.
Yeah, and so that's a problem. We're in the Springfield, Missouri area, and lots of towns around the Springfield area that have 10, 15, 20, 25, 30,000 people. We're not a small area. And so Christian County, where I live, is almost 100,000 people. We're a couple thousand people shy, so we're a large area. Greene County, a lot larger than that. And still yet, like Gretchen says, it's hard to find the services out there. It's really hard. So think about, Gretchen, little towns, small town areas. How do they get help? That's That's really a problem. And then when you talk about speech therapy, I think that is absolutely one of the most important things that we do with our children, because if they don't have good speech patterns and habits, then they're not going to be able to communicate. So I know our granddaughter that I told you about that was born with a shadow. Now, I don't even understand all this, and I've tried to research it. Shadow on a chromosome. We all have the same number of chromosomes, but there's a shadow on one. How did that happen? I mean, was the sun out, sun not out? I mean, I don't get it. I've tried to talk to the doctor a little bit, and they don't actually talk to us very much about it. I think it's because they don't even understand it very well. Maybe that's what it is. But anyway, she's pretty much non-communicative, and that's a problem. If you can't communicate, then really nobody knows how to help you, and everything like that. I never said this on my show before, Gretchen, but when I was growing up in elementary school, I had a speech impediment, is what my mom told me. And so they were taking me to a speech therapist. There's certain words I couldn't pronounce very well. And so my mom at least was smart enough to get me to a speech therapist at that time. I bet there wasn't even that many speech therapists back then. And so I went to sessions with a speach therapist, and they actually even clipped my tongue. That was a technique back then. I don't know if they do that today or not.
Like a tongue tie,
And kind of helped me with my speech therapy. And so I did all that. And as Janet and I had our kids and was raising our 3 kids, there were still times in college and out of college in my profession that I couldn't pronounce certain words. And so my kids would sometimes make fun of the way I said words. Even while we were on vacation or whatever, they just would kind of say something and laugh. Well, I've always talked to Janet about that, and I said, well, you know what, our kids, I still remember them making fun of me, but I was on the debate floor for 8 years as a state rep and passed over 30 of my own bills I sponsored, and over 50 I co-sponsored. I was on the floor debating against attorneys and other people that spoke a lot better than me, but I could speak and I could do things, and so it didn't hold me back. And so one thing that I know about you and your husband, without just now meeting you, is you're not going to give up, are you? And I'm going to tell people out there, this type of condition, children with autism, you do not give up. You do not give up, okay? That's why you need Jesus Christ on your side. He will be there all the time. I bet you if you weren't such a strong Christian, you would have more trouble today. Do you think so?
Oh, definitely. I think definitely knowing that my son was created in God's image, that God absolutely loves him and is there helping us through all this is super vital. Because it's stressful, and having God to lean on is just very important. And then having churches that will help us. We were attending one church when my son was younger, and it was really great, but we just couldn't quite figure it out with what he was going through. And so we did switch to a church that had a smaller, more precise. We actually started going to 2 different churches, one on Saturday night and one on Sunday, because the Saturday night one actually did have a special needs teacher and would take like 3 students in a class. And I mean, I was like, this is amazing for him, because it started to help him get to know the Lord too, and actually feel safe to grow. And then we were able to have him in another one on Sunday morning. That was a little bit of a bigger group, but them being willing to work with us and help us figure it out was so important too, because I mean, that's the thing too. We want those things for him, and that's not always there. So it's really amazing when churches step up and are helping.
Well, churches are extremely important, and this is a time where all churches throughout this country need to step up. We have so many issues and causes going on, problems going on right now. Today, we need churches to step up more than ever. Leaders of the church, members of the church, everyone has got to work together. And, so has your son, because I've seen this with our granddaughter, so they seem to kind of, they're improving, and then they hit a plateau, so they kind of stay there. And that's when you've got to be persistent and not give up.
Right.
You got to make sure, because I think just only what I know about Nora Lynn is that there's just ups and downs. But as long as you're still going up, it may be slower, but eventually you'll go up again and again. And so we're still hoping and praying praying is important. That's what I was telling you all ago. You need to know how to pray, because we're praying every day that Nora Lynn will continue to be able to communicate, and that will be a big part of her life if she can communicate and stuff like that. So
well, I'll give that too. The really neat thing watching my son is he would fall into the middle autism range, and he is so highly intelligent at like knowing all of his history facts, like knowing geography. He knows stuff about like every single country. So the things that he has decided are important in his brain, he actually is like extremely brilliant at.
Yeah.
And so those things are so cool to watch as a parent. Those are things that make me know that like he's going to figure out his place in this world. It just might not be all the things, you know? And I think we have to look at that with disabilities, that sometimes that might mean a different road, but hopefully we can figure out how we find the highlights for every single person so that they can thrive and they can find his things. So like for my son, we're working on the speech stuff because he would love to be a podcaster. He would love to put out information. Like he loves information.
Yeah, that'd be important. So that's a very important statement that you just made. So I'll tell you, I know that God has a purpose for every person that He created. Sometimes it is more difficult to figure that out, but somehow I believe that through God, you and your husband are going to figure this out.
Yeah.
And that's why we wanted you on this show today, is because you're telling a story. This is a real story of a family that's going through this journey. You didn't choose this journey, but you're going to make sure that your son gets to the highest point. And I truly believe, after you said that he will definitely he'll find together, you guys are going to find a purpose and something that he will excel in. I'm just thinking about, I like history, and I know some history facts, but your son, 8 years old, he may know more already than I do at 77. He actually may know more, and that's okay. That's okay with me. It's okay with me. And so I am praying that your son will continue to grow and thrive and find you'll find a spot for him. God will find a spot for him, and I think that's awesome.
And I think these conversations are so important because other families need to know that there are supports for different families, that they don't have to look at only like the extreme cases of like autism to the really, lesser side, like that we really can communicate and talk to each other because we want all of the kids to succeed. And so no matter where your child falls on that spectrum, we're trying to find the solutions. And as parents, we connect when we actually share, like, hey, I'm using this speech therapist. This is what we're seeing. This is what's going on. And like I said, I mean, you can't always find that easily on your own. So it's important to have these discussions and get it out there because we need it to be easier for parents to navigate.
Oh, very good. Well, anything else? I want to talk about some facts and stuff that I've looked up. Anything else that we want to talk about your guys' journey with your son? I know you're getting ready to take a vacation.
Yes.
And so you're going to take a family vacation.
Which he actually does great on those, it has been a blessing for us. That is not the case for everyone.
No.
And because other people, I mean, my son actually does thrive on that some. So
I bet you historical things, like when we go to Europe or where we go and we see these beautiful cathedrals and churches and historical things. Does he like to listen and pay attention?
He does. And actually, some of that he gets really into, like the ones where they have the audio and they put the headphones. He actually can do great for like hours. We went and saw Elvis Presley's house and stuff, and they put the little headphones on him when he was 5, and he was for like 2.5 hours completely enthralled. So it's just a mystery sometimes. But I think for us, again, like the harder parts would be like we're going on a cruise ship and they have clubs that the kids can all go to. And like, that's just something he wouldn't be able to do. Like he couldn't go without us. He needs to have us with him the whole time. So even on the cruise ship, like for a family that doesn't have a child struggling, they're able to drop their kids off and still get their own little breaks. And we just aren't able to do that. So again, it's as much as possible, it'd be nice if we had more services where they do help us, figure out ways to navigate breaks and.
Well, I know that's an issue, but I tell you what, I think that you're going to get rewards. You've already gotten tons of rewards for raising your family to this point. You've got your oldest daughter getting married this spring.
Yes.
So that's amazing.
Very exciting.
And I bet you can find something that your son can help with on that wedding too.
Hopefully.
So, hopefully.
We'll see.
Well, I'm an optimist.
Yes.
I'm an optimist. That drives my wife crazy. But I'm actually, as I've gotten older, I'm an optimist realist. So I actually realize that some things aren't as good as I want them to be. But so I think it's good to be an optimist still.
Yes.
And to be a realist.
Yes.
And then it's a good combination. But no, I think that's going to be good. Well, let's talk about just a few things that I want to look up, and I want to get your comments on that. So one of the things that just really worries me about autism is the fact that probably even before I got involved with Acts Ministry over probably now about 6 years ago, and when I met Jim Whining, one of the first concerts, fundraisers, activities that Acts Ministry did is with autism. We had a professional singer, country music singer from the Joplin area, and she was making it big at that time. And we were doing awareness of autism and things like that. You remember that, Dennis? Were you involved back then? And so we were at a raceway. And on the track, and the band stage was up there and stuff like that. I remember reading about autism back then, and it was like 1 in almost 300 and something kids would be diagnosed with autism. Today, as you're listening to this show, it's 1 in 31. 1 in 31 children are being diagnosed with autism. What is happening? That's another reason why I want the federal government to come in and talk to us and talk to our audience, because there's got to be some factors. It's going to be very complicated. I'm sure it's going to be, but we need to talk more about that. 1 in 31. Think about that, folks. What would that do to and it's 4 times more prevalent in boys than girls. 4 times more prevalent in boys than girls. What does that mean if it's 1 in 31? What if it keeps getting worse and worse? So far it's been going down or increasing. So what does that mean to our military? What does that mean to our workforce for both boys and girls, men and women? What does that do to our country? Our population is already decreasing. We have to have so many children born every year to make sure that we perpetuate life in this world, and our population's declining, so we're less than what we need to have to continue surviving over time. So what does all that mean? What do you think about the ratio of 1 to 31?
Well, I definitely think it's very concerning how much it is growing. I do think there's a bunch of different factors in both ways, because I do think in some ways we probably were underdiagnosing for a while. I think that when you look back at history books and you read about different people, you're like, I think that person was autistic. But it just wasn't diagnosed back then. They were seen as different or as antisocial or as different things like that. So I think it was underdiagnosed for a while. I do think that now the rise, I mean, it might still be underdiagnosed at 1 in 31, because I do think girls that are autistic tend to be able to mask it better. They don't tend to have the same struggles as boys. So I don't think a lot of girls get diagnosed as quickly. Same with like ADHD. I don't know if it's as diagnosed in girls as it probably could be. So I think there's kind of a mix, but I mean, we definitely need to be researching and looking at what is causing this surge. Are we just such an overstimulated type of society? Are we too fast-paced? Is the electronic boom just too hard on brains and on our systems and on our nerves? There's just so many factors. Is our food not, there's a lot of additives in our food. Are those things causing this? What is causing the spike? Because even if there's something already in us that might have an inclination to be autistic, like I know in my research, I got diagnosed with having the MTHFR gene mutation. And with that gene mutation, it means we don't handle the folic acid that's being put in our foods very well. So instead we need methylated folate, which is the more natural way of it. But we tend to fortify our foods a lot here in America. And I don't detox out a lot of that stuff. And my kids most likely all have the gene mutation as well from me. So, I mean, some of that, it's like, did I already have these pre-markers, but then by adding food quality or ingredients that are being added in, did that increase it, you know?
Well, let's talk about just 2 or 3 symptoms.
Okay.
And you tell me if you saw these. These are early signs of symptoms that they sometimes will see. They talk about dissemination or distance. So did you see that at an early age, being kind of distant?
So he was not distant from us, which again, that's where that spectrum kind of rolls in. But not being able to handle other people is harder, and the eye contact. He has a really hard time with eye contact, and he actually, like I said, he's not as severe, so he wants the eye contact. He just can't figure it out.
Okay. And so both of those. And then we've already talked about developing language skills, slow. And so you saw that. The inability to emphasize, to have empathy. Did you kind of see that?
He doesn't show that one. That is one he doesn't actually struggle with. He actually is pretty emotionally aware.
Okay. And then not responsive to human interactions?
No, he's actually more on the heightened side to human contact. So he wants the really strong touch. Like he wants pressure put on himself. So he goes kind of in the opposite vein.
So see, that's Gretchen. So because that you didn't see some of those, and some of those don't fit with your son, that's also complicates things, because it's not just black and white. Okay, I'm sure the causes are not going to be black and white. I'm sure that symptoms, outward signs of things that you see are not black and white either. But anyway, hey, very good. I'm going to spend 5 minutes talking about our sponsors, and then I'm going to give you last words. So think about what you would like to tell people as we close up today, and then maybe a way that somebody may want to contact you. If you have a way that they can contact you, I'd love to give that out too. Our 2 sponsors that are so important to our show and to Acts Ministry is Changing Times. For Changing Times is Brad Pistow. Brad Pistow is a certified fiduciary financial planner located in Ozark, Missouri. He is my financial planner. I've used him for several years, and he is a #1 best-selling author of of retirement books, both books that he has written. He's working on his third book right now, are best-selling on Amazon. The first one is Safe Money Matters. The second one is Bulletproof. You can call, you need your pencil and paper right now. You can call 417-581-9222. 417-581-9222. When you call that number, Lisa will answer the phone and she will send you information about safe investing in retirement. And he has a policy that he makes sure that you will not run out of money before you run out of your life. That is something that a lot of people worry about. They worry about running out of money before they run out of life. You're not going to do that with Brad Pistow. Not only has he set us up for our lifetime, for however long we live, he also has helped us make quite a bit of money as well in investing, as well as having our retirement funds. So I highly recommend Brad Pistow. He's licensed in 23 states, and he has associates in several other states, probably about all the states in the country, because he goes around the country to speak. He contributes to Wall Street Journal on a regular basis, business section. He also contributes to USA Today, many other publications. Brad Pistow, right here in Missouri. Okay, the other sponsor that we've had for a long time too is Springfield Nissan and Springfield Kia. It used to be Youngblood Motor Group. They're located at 3828 South Campbell. New cars on one side of South Campbell and used cars right across the street. And I just bought my third car from this group. This car I bought on Labor Day. Had a really good time buying the car, and I bought it at a great price, 0% financing, and bought a Kia Sorento SUV. I love the car, and I've got 4,000 miles on it now. I bought it with 2,000 miles, and I've got 4,000 miles on it now, so it's just still like a brand new car. They have impeccable service, and if you will call 882-3838, so 417-882-3838, 417-882-3838. They sell cars from people from 8 different states, but they actually have been in business for over 45 years, one of the longest family-owned car dealers in Southwest Missouri. So I highly recommend these guys. They do great service. They have great cars, and I probably, when I get ready to buy my 4th car for my wife in another year or so, we'll probably buy another car from these guys because they're good. Okay? So anyway, so now we're at the end of our show. I think we've had a great show. I really appreciate you being here today. So what do you want to leave with our listeners today?
Okay, my ending remarks would be, first off, to have hope that God wants to help us, and even when we go through hard things, like having kids that are a little bit more difficult because of some of the issues they're going through, that God wants to help you, that there are people out there to help you. So keep looking for connections, for people who can help you. Don't hide away. I think a lot of the times people, when we're going through hard things, when we're dealing with hard family stuff, we don't want to share it with everyone because we feel embarrassed about it. And so be open about it. Tell people where you need the help, and people help. Hug someone that you see a mom having a hard time. Hug those parents that you see struggling with a child that has special needs, because it is hard. They are doing something really big, and we just need to embrace people and help them more.
Well, I tell you what, Gretchen, that's great comments. Just don't give up, folks. Don't give up. Believe in God, find God, and I think that everything will be much, much better. So, is there a way for them to get a hold of you if they're? Are
Yes.
you wanting just to contact our
Yeah,
4321?
So they could reach me at my email is gpeters, so Gretchen Peters, G Peters, at wisdomsgf.org. That's my school email, but definitely so that I can give extra information and help with anything, I would love to. You can also look us up on Facebook at Wisdom Academy here in Springfield, Missouri.
All right. Well, very good. You are a difference maker. Your husband's a difference maker. I tell you what, you're not breaking our string. We've never had a show without difference makers. We've had generals. We've had all kinds of people on our show. They're very, very important. Everybody is important in their own way. And so that's what is so great. Really appreciate you being here today. We'll be back next Wednesday, and we'll have another great show lined up. And while this weather's bad, just like Gretchen said, we've had a gentleman just 2 weeks ago through the University of Missouri, and he's created a neighbor program, Good Neighbor program. And so Christian County signed up last year, and they've been doing this for 4 years. This is the 5th year, and it's really a program. All 12 months culminates in October when we give out awards to people who have been the best neighbors in their area. So this is all over the country, but we're talking about Missouri right now. And you can do it anywhere. You know, during all this snow and ice and stuff like that, check on your neighbors. See if you can help them. Anything that you can do, just be a good neighbor. Long time ago, that's all that we had. Before we had churches and nonprofits, people just checked on people.
Yes.
And so do that again. Be a good neighbor out there. Anyway, thanks for listening today. We'll be back next Wednesday. God bless.